Have you ever heard of the analogy pouring from an empty cup? This is exactly what Joey Badass was breaking down in this interview when he did with the pivot. And I'm gonna break this video down. I wanted to hear your guys' insight and leave in the comments. Is it okay to pour from an empty cup? We about to break it down right now. So y'all tap in and stay tuned. All right, so let's get into it.
My biggest pivot was when I made myself the priority. I feel like since then, it's been an upward trajectory.
Making yourself the priority, first and foremost, not even 10 seconds in, making yourself as a priority is the key. Is super key. And I know he's going to break down in a little bit why it's important for you to be the priority, right? So let's start there. Understand that you are the priority. You might have other priorities going on. You might have other things, whatever it is, job, school, kids, whatever it is, but just understand, you know, you are the priority. So let's break it down just a little bit more.
That's the message that I like to try to give to the youth, especially the black youth, because I feel like the way that we come up and the way that we're raised is so much survivor's guilt
Mm.
instilled in us from an early age. You feeling bad about making it.
Wow, that's crazy. You hear a lot about this with celebrities. Again, you hear this a lot with people who are famous, especially in the black community. You have this obligation sometimes when you make it, other people behind you should be able to reap off your success, right? The the bad thing about that, typically in the black community, is usually we may have that one family member or that one cousin or that one distant person that actually makes it out, right? When we talk about making it out, actually meaning making it out of poverty, making it out of, the hood, making it out of these private social economic situations that most black Americans actually live in. So when we talk about making it, and Joey Badass talking about making it, this is what he's talking about, is like just making it out. You know what I mean? Making it out so you can become more than what your environment has for you. You feel me? So sometimes again, survivor's guilt, that's how he framed it. Some folks may say survivor's remorse, which is pretty much the same thing where you feel bad about, you know, making it, you feel bad about being successful because, here you are living in the hills, but the people that helps you get there are still living, in the valleys, living in the lows. You feel me? So when we talk about that in the mental health realm, what we actually want to break down is, what boundaries may need to be set within yourself, but also what boundaries need to be set with the people around you for them to better understand what is it that you can do and you can't do for them. Right. And I hope he gets into a little bit more. I just want to break that down. We have a lot of folks, that I work um, with the practice and things of that nature that come in and say like, hey, like I'm successful, I'm this, I'm that, but I just feel bad sometimes. I feel obligated to help those who help me, which isn't a bad thing, but you have to understand what's your limitations and your capacities to do so, because if you give it all away, then you don't have nothing to bear for yourself. You know what I mean? So let's continue to get into it.
Because all the other people around you not making it, or you got a lot of people to help out. And what that does for a lot of us is it creates some type of inertia. It creates, it becomes too heavy of a burden, and you actually don't get nowhere because you pour from this empty cup.
Wow. And that's exactly what we was talking about. When we talk about pouring from an empty cup, and I know that phrase is kind of overused and like, people like, I can't pour from an empty cup. I can't give you what I'm not giving to myself. And I know we talk about that a lot, but the fact of the matter is true, and I like that analogy as much as it's being overused, because if you pour from an empty cup, how can you do that? Where your cup's not full, right? Because especially when you're in positions where you might be your first college graduate, you might be the first person in your family to be a doctor, a lawyer, become successful, have a six-figure business, or be a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever it is, and you reach these certain pinnacles, you know, you obviously may have that survivor's remorse and that survivor's guilt, but at the same time, you have to understand, if you're depleted and you're not in the best situation mentally, and maybe even financially, because I know we talked about pouring from an empty cup, especially when we're talking about celebrities. It's not always like, always our mental capacity, but it's also money as well too. We want to be very careful when those who are in those situations, or if you're in those situations yourself, how you're spreading yourself out. How you're spreading yourself out, and the analogy and illusion of pouring into an empty cup is the perfect example because you can't, excuse me, pouring out of an empty cup, you can't pour out of an empty cup because there's nothing in the cup to give, so you have to make sure like you're A1, you got to make sure you're numero uno, you have to make sure, you're up to par and you're doing what you need to do so that when you do need to pour, because, we talked about not being stingy or not, being not stingy, but more so you trying not to be a person that is greedy and oh, okay, I made it by myself, I'm self-made and all this other stuff. Like, you may want to help out your mom, you may want to help out some people, but you can't do so if your cup isn't full. You have to prioritize yourself because you're doing other people a disadvantage many a times if you're trying to help them out and you're not 100% yourself. That's a huge disadvantage. I know sometimes we get that misconstrued. It's like, okay, we're helping people. But when you're helping somebody and you're doing it from a perspective and a feeling of lack, or you really don't have it, you're really doing them a disadvantage because now the help that you're giving them isn't 100% of what you can do. You're only giving them a piece of what you can do, right? So we want to make sure we're A1 and that when we are able to help, we're able to help to the full capacity and not put people in a disadvantage when we're trying to help them. But let's keep rocking with this video and see what else Joey Badass has to say about it.
Once I started pouring more inward, not only did I have more to share with others, I never get dehydrated now. You know what I'm saying? If you're not good,
That's a good analogy. Great analogy. You don't get dehydrated when your cup is full. So that's exactly what we was just speaking on.
nothing that you do or create can be great. Like, you gotta take care of you first. And that's with everything. That's with parenting, that's with career, that's with love. You gotta make sure you in a state where you can provide and nurture for self before you provide and nurture for others in the world.
And as we kind of wrap up this video, I really like the way he broke things down. I like the way he said what he said, just about, setting boundaries. When we talk about setting boundaries, not always with other people as well, is, we have to set boundaries with ourselves because sometimes we want to go out wild and we want to do all these certain things, but, we have to have boundaries within ourselves so that we can, pour from a fuller cup. You know, the boundaries we set with ourselves is understanding like how much can I pour and what my cup looks like when it's full or not full. And if my cup is half full, do I have the capacity to still give? So all those different things have to come into play when you talk about setting boundaries with yourself. Because when you don't set boundaries with yourself, you're going to continue to pour from an empty cup. You're going to continue to say yes to everything. You're going to continue to come from a standpoint of lack. You're not going to actually be able to help those at your full capacity. You know what I mean? So I appreciate Joey Badass for breaking this down. I appreciate him for speaking on this and talking about this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments as far as setting boundaries, what that looks like. Should you be pouring from an empty cup? Can you pour from an empty cup? Have you ever poured from an empty cup? So I appreciate y'all tapping in. Terrence Therapist. Y'all take care. Peace.